Hi guys, Love Book Triangle Lindsay here, and I'm going to be doing the mid-year book Freak Out for this tag is best book that you've read so far this year. And for me, that is One Small Thing by Aaron Watt. I can see my cat wandering around in the background there, so Sherman just wants to say hi. But anyway, it was One Small Thing by Aaron Watt, and I just really enjoyed the story. There's some deepness in it. You have to really think about the situation that the characters are in, how would you act, and just interesting to see the struggle that each character has to go through. And even the parents, even the secondary characters in the book, they're fighting through something as well. So it is interesting to see how they work it out and get through it. So I really recommend that read. Sorry I don't have a physical copy of it. I had read it through NetGalley. The number 2 is the best sequel so far that you read this year, and mine is Obsidian by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the 3rd book in the series, and if you haven't read their books before, or this series, it's from the Illuminate Files, book number 3, and they write in really cool ways. It's not your typical writing for a book. They write in file format. If you're messaging a friend on the computer, try to find one. They even have like comics in this one. It's a new release that you haven't read yet, but you're excited to read. So I do not have this actual book yet, so I will show you the first one. It is Avalanche by Cambria Hebert. And the one that I am excited to read is Blizzard, the 2nd one in the series. I was very lucky and I had one Avalanche, and it was my first read by her. And I really enjoyed the story. This girl has been in the witness protection program, but something happened. She's found out, so she goes back to a place where she can kind of feel safe, because she doesn't want to contact her mom, because she doesn't want anything to happen to her, and she doesn't have her dad. So she just goes where she thinks she'll be safe and the people won't look for her. So she goes to this resort that she went to with her dad when she was younger, and these things that happened in the past start to come up, and she's trying to hide, run for her life, and it's just interesting how her past and future kind of collide, and you see how that happens in the book. And so I'm excited to read the next one to see what happens in the story. And another one I'm looking forward to read is Warstorm. I should have read this right away when I got it, because I did finish King's Cage back in May, and so it was fresh in my mind, but there's other stuff I wanted to read. And I did get to go to Victoria Aveyard's signing when she was on tour for this, so that was really exciting. Signature in there. I now have all my books I own of hers signed, and I'm a little nervous to see what happens in this story, because the way she was talking about it on tour, there's some bad stuff that's gonna happen, some people who are probably gonna die, and I'm just really curious to see how it all plays out. So it's probably going to be pulling a lot of emotions out of me when I read this book. Number 4 is my most anticipated sequel for this coming year, and just finishing Lord of Shadows last night. Holy wow, did this have an ending. A lot of stuff happened, and with that being said, going into one of my most anticipated reads, I am looking forward to Queen of Air and Darkness, which comes out early December, and I believe that does wrap up the Dark Artifices series. And just the way it ends, your heart breaks a little, because all this stuff is happening. It was really exciting, because if you have read Cassandra Clare's other books in this series, just one thing I love, how she can have so many different series but you stay in the same world. But she had Magnus Spain and Alec Lightwood, sorry I'm getting tongue-tied, show up in this book about halfway, maybe a little over halfway through, so it was great having them in it again. But then with that, of course, there's all this other stuff Cassandra's going to throw in there and have you worrying about characters you've already loved from before. So I'm going to stop, not say too much more, but I'm really looking forward to the next one to see what the heck happens. I know I've always been saying I should have read this a long time ago, but now I'm kind of glad that I did wait a little bit, because it will be fresher in my mind, because December is still far away, but it will be fresher in my mind for when the next book does come out. And I did something that I usually don't do. I have pre-ordered Queen of Air and Darkness, and there's a special box of goodies that's coming with it. I decided to treat myself because I don't do that very often, so that just makes me even more excited for the book. Another one I'm excited for, since it didn't come out yet, just hold this up, throwing the glass fans out there, is Kingdom of Ash. Really excited to see what happens, especially after Empire Storms and Tower of Dawn, how that all ended. And I'm excited to see the characters from Tower of Dawn come back and mesh with all the others, join together again, and hopefully it's going to be great. I think it is, so I'm really looking forward to those books. So the next one, number 5, is the biggest disappointment you read so far this year. And, well, the first one that actually I wasn't very excited about when I was reading it was Elite by Rachel Van Dyken. Well, my friends just rave about this series. I think so far there's 9 books in this series or so. And I just didn't like this first one. The lead character, the male lead character in this book, is just such a jerk, and I hate how the female lead just keeps on going back to him after everything he does, and I just don't get it. But I did have the second book, and I read it, and I did really enjoy that one. That had the feels for what I thought the series should have been all along. So I see what my friends were talking about, and I will eventually continue reading the series. So this first one, if you're like me and get some of the feelings about it, I'd say don't stop at this one. Keep on going. So in an odd way, it still worked out for me, which is good in the long run. Then another book I was really disappointed with was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I just heard so many good things about it. I was so excited for it with the fairy world, and it just fell flat for me. I wanted so much more from the story. With it being called The Cruel Prince, I expected so much more from the title to show within the story, and I just didn't get that. I don't know if I'm going to read the next book in this series if I'm that curious to see what happens next, because I don't know, I was just really disappointed. It fell so flat for me. So that was probably one of the saddest reads I had so far this year, just because I had it so hyped up in my head, and then when it wasn't what I expected. I mean, I do think it's interesting because there's 2 human girls who end up being raised in the fairy world, and the concept is interesting to me. It's there, it just didn't pull everything out of it that I thought it could be. So I don't know, maybe I'll wait to see what the reviews are when the next book comes out and decide then, but as of right now, I don't know if I'm gonna continue this series. The next one is the biggest surprise, a book you were not expecting to enjoy. I really don't have a better explanation for this, but it's the Hard Ink series by Laura Kay. I had got these because it was the author my friends wanted to meet at a Polycon, and so I just thought I'd give her books a try, because mass market paperback, not really expensive, especially if you wait for coupons at the bookstore by me, half-price books. And I just looked at them on my shelf, and for some reason I just wasn't interested at all. I guess I'm just not used to reading little short books, and I just didn't want to pick it off the shelf. But finally I was like, okay, gotta crack down, I gotta read these books, the event's coming up, and I want to read something of hers. And I just loved it. I really loved this series. I love the characters. You get 2 different characters in each book, but they're throughout the series. You see them, and you get then to see the characters that you loved from the previous book keep coming, and you keep finding out information from them as you read the series. And I just really enjoyed it so much. So it's really just was a stupid reason that I wasn't expecting to like them, just going off of looks of the book and size of the book. Even the printing, I guess I'm just used to reading different stuff and different looks of books. So very stupid reason, but very good results. Number 7 is the favorite new author to me, and I will have to go with Cambria Hebert again this year, because technically I did read the first book in that Laura K series in December of 2017, but I read the rest in 2018. That's why I counted it. So for this one, I'm just going for someone I really did read in 2018. I have Avalanche by her, and I also have Nerd, the first in the hashtag series, and they're just fun reads, and I enjoy them. They're fun to read about, and I'm hoping to continue with her other books. So next, number 8 is new favorite fictional character. Technically, this character wasn't new when I read the book, because I saw a movie of it first. I didn't grab the book down, but I grabbed a character to represent it. This is Mal from Descendants, or Melissa De La Cruz's series that she has to go with the movies. And the character that I really enjoyed is Uma, so I hope they make a pop of her, because she is Ursula's daughter. And if you don't know the background of Descendants, it's the villain kids from Disney movies, and I just thought she was a fun character, so she was fun to read about. And then I really enjoyed Alex and Violet from Pucked, because they're both so quirky, and together they just make a super duper cute couple, so they were really fun to read about too. Next is a book that made you cry. Surprisingly, the books I've read this year haven't made me cry, and I'm a crier, so I'm really surprised that hasn't happened yet. Number 10 is a book that made you happy, and I'd have to go with Rise of the Isle of Lost, because I love Disney, and I just love reading those books and being able to dive into the Disney world again. And I like reading about villains. And again, Obsidian, because it was a nice way that it all wrapped up, and again, I just love the way it is written. Number 11 is the favorite review you have written, or the favorite video you have done so far this year. And overall, I would just say it's BookTube, because I'm new to BookTube this year. It's something I want to try out, and it's just fun doing the video and talking to you guys. Then number 12 is the most beautiful book you bought or received, and I described this in my June book haul, I believe. And the reason this is the most beautiful book I have gotten so far this year is because the story behind it that Saba actually told us when I went to her signing. So I would go and look at my June book haul, sorry, I was going to say wrap up, to if you want to get the story behind the cover. And lastly are books you need to finish before the end of the year. And I would say I would just like to wrap up some series that I haven't visited in a while, because I've read the first book and I have wanted to go into the other books, but I just have decided to read other things. So I think that would be fun to go back into some series that I really enjoyed in a different world and get back into them. And I've been wanting to read some more Ellen Hopkins books. She writes in a poetry format, and it's just really fun for me to read, and I would like to dive back more into those. And of course, I don't know if I said it in a different video before, but I did get an ApolloCon ticket for next year, so they're just authors I want to be able to check off books from my list for them before seeing them next year at ApolloCon. So there you go, that's my mid-year book freak out tag.